Welcome to World Story Guide. Today we are going to talk about the most extraordinary footballer the world has ever seen. A boy who was born in poverty on a tiny Atlantic island, who was nearly sent home from his dream before it even began, and who, through sheer relentless obsession, transformed himself into a legend that will echo through history long after the final whistle blows. Today we tell the story of Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. Chapter 1: The Island Boy. The story begins on the 5th of February 1985 in a small neighborhood called Santo Antonio in the city of Funchal on the island of Madeira, a volcanic island off the northwest coast of Africa, belonging to Portugal. It is a place of dramatic cliffs and ocean winds, of fishing boats and steep cobblestone streets, beautiful, remote, and far from the world's gaze. Cristiano was the fourth and youngest child of Maria Dolores dos Santos and José Diniz Aveiro. His father worked as a municipal gardener and part-time kitman for a local football club. His mother cleaned houses to help keep food on the table. Money was almost always short. The family lived in a small house. Some accounts describe it as barely larger than a single room, with a tin roof that leaked when the rain came in from the Atlantic. From the earliest days of his life, Cristiano was in motion. He was restless, energetic, always chasing a ball in the narrow streets of the neighborhood. Other children played. Cristiano practiced. There was something different in the way he related to the game, not as entertainment, but as something close to a calling. When he was 8 years old, he joined Andorinha, a local club where his father worked. His talent was immediately obvious to anyone who watched him. He was quick, clever, and possessed of a competitive fire that seemed almost out of proportion for his age. He would train long after the other boys had gone home, running, dribbling, shooting, again and again, trying to make every movement perfect. At 10, he moved to Nacional, a bigger club on the island. And at 12, the moment that would change everything arrived. He had a trial with Sporting Clube de Portugal, one of the most famous clubs in Lisbon and one of the best football academies in the world. He passed the trial. He was offered a place in the academy, but to accept it, he had to leave everything he knew. At 12 years old, Cristiano Ronaldo left Madeira and traveled to Lisbon, alone. Chapter 2: Tears in Lisbon. The sporting academy was called the Academia, and it was a place of serious discipline, high standards, and intense competition. Boys from all over Portugal trained there, each dreaming of becoming a professional. The pressure was immense. The standard was unlike anything Cristiano had experienced, and he was homesick. Deeply, painfully homesick. He cried himself to sleep. He called his mother, sometimes several times a day. He was away from his family, from Madeira, from everything familiar. He was just a child in a strange city. Some accounts from those who knew him at the time say he was genuinely on the verge of going home, of giving up and returning to the island. But he did not go home. Instead, he did something that would become the defining pattern of his career. He channeled every drop of longing, pain, and frustration into his training. He threw himself into the work with an intensity that shocked even the seasoned coaches of Sporting's academy. While other boys rested, he trained. While others played video games or watched television in the evenings, Cristiano was in the gym or outside on the pitch or in his room doing exercises. There was another problem too, something beyond homesickness. The other boys teased him for his accent. The Madeiran accent is distinctive, and the Lisbon boys did not let him forget it. Cristiano was mocked, made to feel like an outsider, a country boy who didn't belong in the capital. This too he turned into fuel. By the time he was 16, he was the only player in Sporting's academy history to be playing for the under 16, under 17, under 18, reserve team, and first team all in the same season. Let that sink in. In a single season, he was competing at 5 different levels of football simultaneously and excelling at everyone. He made his professional debut for Sporting at 17. He wore number 28, and within months, everything in his world was about to change forever. Chapter 3: The Day That Changed History. In August of 2003, Sporting Lisbon played a pre-season friendly against Manchester United, one of the most powerful clubs in the world at that time, managed by the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson. United were there to warm up for the coming season. They were not expecting to be taught a lesson by a teenager. Cristiano Ronaldo played that day, and he was extraordinary. He ran the United defenders ragged. He dribbled past them, turned them inside out, produced skill after skill with a confidence and creativity that left the crowd gasping. He was 17 years old, and he played like he owned the stadium. After the match, the United players went to Ferguson and told him he needed to sign that boy. It wasn't a subtle suggestion. They were insistent. Players like Rio Ferdinand, John O'Shea, and others were adamant. This kid was something special. Ferguson agreed. Manchester United signed Cristiano Ronaldo for £15 million, an extraordinary fee for a teenager at the time. He was given the number 7 shirt, the shirt that had previously been worn by Eric Cantona, by David Beckham, by legends of Old Trafford. The weight of that number was enormous. When he arrived in Manchester, he was still raw, still learning. His English was barely functional. He was 17 years old in one of the most demanding football environments in the world. Chapter 4: Learning to be Great. The early years at United were not always smooth. Cristiano was brilliant in flashes, but inconsistent. He had an extraordinary ability on the ball, but he was also known for excessive tricks, for going down too easily under tackles, for sometimes prioritizing the spectacular over the effective. The English crowds and media were not always kind. But what set Cristiano apart, what would always set him apart, was his willingness to be told the truth and to work on his weaknesses. Sir Alex Ferguson was not a gentle manager. He demanded excellence and held his players to high standards. He pushed Cristiano hard, challenged him to simplify his game when the situation demanded it, to make better decisions, to contribute more to the team and less to individual spectacle. Ronaldo absorbed it all. He also worked, relentlessly, obsessively, almost frighteningly. He was the first to arrive for training and the last to leave. He worked on his finishing, his heading, his set pieces, his movement, his physical conditioning. He was not content to be good. He was not even content to be great. He wanted to be the best player who had ever lived, and he was willing to pay whatever price that required. He hired personal chefs to ensure his diet was perfect. He studied sleep science to optimize his recovery. He installed a cryotherapy chamber in his home. He treated his body like a high-performance machine that required constant maintenance and improvement. These were not normal practices in football at the time. Ronaldo was, in many ways, ahead of his era. Season by season, he improved. In the 2006 to 2007 season, he began to reach a different level entirely. He scored 17 goals, remarkable for a winger. The following season, 2007 to 2008, he was simply unstoppable. Chapter 5: The Greatest Season at United. The 2007 to 2008 season was when the world finally understood what Cristiano Ronaldo was capable of. He scored 42 goals in all competitions. He won the Premier League title with United. He won the Champions League, scoring in the final against Chelsea in Moscow. He won the Ballon d'Or, the award given each year to the best footballer in the world. For the first time, he was 23 years old. It was a season of almost supernatural quality. He was scoring thunderous free kicks, leaping above defenders to head goals that seemed to defy physics, driving runs at pace that defenders simply could not handle. He was the complete attacking player, powerful and fast, technically brilliant, and relentlessly clinical in front of goal. And yet, at the height of his powers at Manchester United, at the club that had turned him from a boy into a man, Cristiano Ronaldo wanted more. He wanted Real Madrid. For years, Real Madrid had been pursuing him, the biggest club in the world, playing in the biggest stadium in the world, in the most passionate football country on earth. In the summer of 2009, after years of speculation, the transfer was finally agreed. Real Madrid paid Manchester United £80 million, at the time the largest transfer fee in football history. At his presentation at the Bernabéu Stadium, 80,000 fans came to see him, not for a match, just to see him arrive. Chapter 6: Conquering Spain. At Real Madrid, Ronaldo found a new rival and a new obsession. Lionel Messi, playing for Barcelona, was already considered by many to be the best player in the world. He was different from Ronaldo in almost every way. Small where Ronaldo was large, quiet where Ronaldo was expressive, naturally instinctive where Ronaldo was studiously disciplined. But both were capable of things that no other footballer could do. The rivalry between Ronaldo and Messi became the defining story of a generation. Not just in sport, but in culture. People debated their relative merits with the same passion they brought to politics or religion. Teams formed. You were either a Ronaldo person or a Messi person. For over a decade, the two men traded Ballon d'Or awards, scored impossible numbers of goals, and pushed each other to heights that should not have been achievable. At Real Madrid, Ronaldo was extraordinary. He scored 33 league goals in his first season, a La Liga record for a foreign player at the time. Then 38, then 46, then 50. 50 league goals in a single season. The records fell one after another. He scored hat-tricks the way other players scored single goals. He set the all-time record for Champions League goals, a record that seemed as if it might stand forever. He won the Champions League 4 times with Real Madrid. He won the Ballon d'Or 4 more times. He scored over 450 goals for the club, more than any player in the history of Real Madrid. And there was one more dream he had not yet fulfilled. Chapter 7: Glory for Portugal. For all his club success, one thing had eluded Cristiano Ronaldo for years: a major trophy with the Portuguese national team. Portugal had some of the finest talent in the world, but they had never won a major international tournament. Ronaldo had come close, a runner-up in Euro 2004 when he was just 19, a semi-final at the 2006 World Cup, but the big prize had never come. Euro 2016 in France would change everything. The tournament was not smooth for Portugal. They drew three of their group stage games and barely qualified for the knockout rounds. Then, in the final, against the host nation France, in front of a passionate Parisian crowd that wanted nothing more than a French victory, tragedy struck early. Ronaldo, Portugal's captain and their most important player, fell to the ground after a collision with Dimitri Payet. He tried to continue. He was in clear pain. He tried again. He could not go on. Weeping on the pitch, he was carried off on a stretcher. He watched the rest of the game from the sideline, an emotional wreck, ice on his knee, barely able to look at what was happening. There were long stretches of the final where it seemed Portugal might not be able to hold on. But they did hold on. They held out through 90 minutes and then through extra time. And then Eder, a substitute, a player few outside Portugal had heard of, scored a stunning long-range goal in the 109th minute. Portugal led. France could not find an equalizer. The final whistle blew. Cristiano Ronaldo ran onto the pitch. He embraced his teammates. He broke down in tears, not of sorrow this time, but of joy. Portugal were the champions of Europe. He said afterward that it was the greatest moment of his career. Chapter 8: Juventus and the Relentless March Forward. At 33 years old, an age when most footballers are thinking about winding down, Cristiano Ronaldo made another stunning move. In 2018, he left Real Madrid for Juventus, the dominant club of Italian football. The fee was 100 million euros. People questioned whether a man his age could maintain that level in a new league. The answer came quickly and definitively. In his first season at Juventus, he scored 28 league goals. He won the Serie A title. He made the Champions League quarterfinals. He was 33, then 34, and he was still performing at an elite level, still faster than most of his opponents, still physically superior to players a decade younger. This was perhaps his most remarkable achievement, not the individual trophies or the goal records, but the sheer longevity of his excellence. He had rebuilt his body, his diet, and his mentality to perform at the highest level well into his mid-30s. He became a symbol not just of talent, but of what discipline and dedication can achieve when applied with absolute consistency over decades. Chapter 9: The Return. In 2021, after 3 years in Italy, Cristiano Ronaldo returned to Manchester United, the club where everything had truly begun. It was an emotional homecoming. Old Trafford roared when his name was announced. He scored on his return debut. For a time, it felt like the circle was closing beautifully. The season at United was complicated. The club was going through a difficult period of transition, and the results did not match the expectations. In 2022, his time at United ended in difficult circumstances, with a mutual departure. But Ronaldo was not done, not remotely. He moved to Al Nasser in Saudi Arabia, a move that raised eyebrows in Europe but which Ronaldo embraced with characteristic confidence. He saw it as a new challenge, a new frontier, and a chance to help grow the game in a part of the world that was hungry for world-class football. He continued to score goals, to win individual awards, and to train with the same ferocious intensity he had brought to every dressing room since he was a 12-year-old boy crying himself to sleep in Lisbon. Through it all, he has always remained fiercely connected to Madeira. He opened a museum dedicated to himself on the island, the CR7 Museum, and has given extensively to charitable causes, including donating blood regularly and contributing to disaster relief efforts. When an earthquake struck Morocco in 2023, he was among the first to respond with significant financial support. He has donated millions to causes related to children's hospitals, natural disasters, and poverty. Chapter 10. The Legend. As of today, the numbers alone are staggering. Over 900 career goals across club and country, a total that is almost impossible to comprehend. 5 Ballon d'Or awards, 5 Champions League titles, multiple league titles across England, Spain, and Italy. The all-time leading scorer in the history of the UEFA Champions League. The all-time leading scorer in international football, with over 130 goals for Portugal, a record that stands alone at the summit. But numbers do not fully capture what Cristiano Ronaldo represents. He represents the idea that talent is not enough, that talent is only the beginning, that the gap between good and great and between great and legendary is filled with invisible hours, early mornings in empty gyms, extra sessions when the body wants to rest, choices made every day about food and sleep and focus that most people would not bother with. He represents resilience. The boy who was mocked for his accent, who cried alone in a strange city, who came back from a World Cup injury to lift a European Championship trophy. He never stopped. He was never satisfied. He never accepted a ceiling. He represents hunger. Despite everything he has won and everything he has achieved, those who know him say that the fire is never dimmed. The desire to be the best, the refusal to accept mediocrity, the need to prove himself, these have never left him. They are as strong today as they were when he was a skinny kid from Madeira, with a football and a dream. The boy from the tin-roofed house on the Atlantic island became the most decorated individual player in football history. He became one of the most recognizable human beings on the planet. He became, for millions of people around the world, proof that where you start does not determine where you finish. That is the story of Cristiano Ronaldo. Not just a footballer, a force of nature, a testament to what a human being can become when they decide, truly decide, that ordinary is not enough. Thank you for listening to World Story Guide. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep pushing, and never stop believing in what you can become.